We're all connected. One human race. This is Off the Cuff, where the headlines come to life. And I have my guest today, Mr. Mark Markovski, who is an author, and his book is called The Peace Perspective. You can imagine what we're going to be talking about. Mike, welcome to Off the Cuff. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Well, thanks for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be able to talk to you and be able to share my message of peace and love with the world.
Absolutely. Off camera, we were talking about a certain quote, and you wanted to start off our conversation with that quote. Please share that with us.
Sure. It's from Rumi, back in the 1400s, I believe. He was a poet, a Persian poet. And it's really, the whole thing for me is finding peace. And he had a quote where, "You are not a drop in the ocean. You're the entire ocean in a drop." Now think about that. That really inspired me when I heard that. That means to live your life knowing we're connected with each other and the whole world, as opposed to separate and battling. What a huge difference, a shift in perspective, that it changes everything, allows you to be at peace and understand your greatness without doing anything at all.
Absolutely. And your story sort of really emphasizes that you were actually a logistics person, a controller, prior to, and your entire career shift went into writing this book and promoting the peace within and the peace perspective. So tell us a little bit about that journey and what made you go from sort of corporate America into this kind of conversation with basically the world.
Oh, without a doubt. I was born in Macedonia. My real name is Mire, which means Mir in Macedonian means peace.
So you were born to do this.
Yeah, I didn't really know that at first, you know. I really struggled with my self-esteem. I had a real good upbringing, but I struggled with my self-esteem. I got caught up in the way I looked. I didn't like the way I looked, and I just got dragged down by like 16, 17. I got caught up in that, and I started really doubting myself and being really, really depressed.
Self-doubt is destructive.
Yeah,
definitely.
I just didn't appreciate who I was. And luckily, at the age of 21, I got this inspirational insight about this idea of oneness, that we're way beyond our body, we're a spiritual center that's connected to everything. And that changed everything for me. I got really inspired about reading so many books. Wayne Dyer was a famous person I got caught up in, Deepak Chopra, Eckhart Tolle. And this idea that we're so much more, that we're connected, that we could find peace no matter what goes around us, was very powerful for me. It changed my whole life, from being depressed to being so inspired. You know, I went on to get a degree, became a controller for a construction company, have 3 boys, married 28 years, just a wonderful life. But then 4 years ago, another quote from Wayne Dyer, so many great quotes, but he said, where you don't let the music die within you. And what does that mean? That means we all have a passion within, and we need to fulfill that in our life, and don't let it die within you. And that's the message I got. I was turning 50 at that time in 2012. I invested well, had a good income, but at the end of the day, how do I want to spend my next 25 years? It wasn't
so sort
making
of an
more
epiphany,
money.
like,
yeah,
wait a minute, what am I doing
we need
here?
money, but how much do you need? Then we need to do something about the vision I have, the knowledge I have. How can we share with the world? How can I make a difference? And let each person know you're not a drop, you're the entire ocean. And when you realize that, you get a universal esteem, a greatness that no one can take away. I taught a self-esteem class for 15 years at Utica schools while I was working on Saturdays. And that was grades 4 through 7 that I designed, because I felt so inspired from this vision I got at 21. I wanted to help people when they were younger to awaken to their greatness. So I designed this class. It was real successful, and it made a huge difference in my life. And the way I want to help people now is with the peace perspective and helping people, especially parents. The book is geared for parents finding peace within. And when you do, you're a great example to your children, and that's the name of the game, is you to find peace within yourself.
Sure, I think especially today in the society that we live in, there's so many external issues that children especially are exposed to, and maybe not mature enough to process and to understand and to put into the right perspective.
Sure.
And as parents, it's really difficult, even for us sometimes, to understand those external issues that compact our lives on a daily basis. And so for us to try to understand that and to try to guide our children, it's I think a lot more challenging than maybe when we grew up. And trying to find those tools to be able to guide our children with things that they may be exposed to that we don't really understand or know what they're dealing with, is extremely, extremely challenging. And the concept of self-preservation and self-worth, I think, has been a major issue with our youth these days, and trying to guide them is very difficult. And I don't think society is as it was before, and there's so many things that we're dealing with now. So how do you address that, and how do we give the tools to the parents to be able to create that self-esteem and that music inside our children to keep them going and to keep positive, especially in an environment today, which we have to admit is not the best, given technology and everything we're exposed to.
Sure. There's another, I'm big into quotes. This is something I came up with myself, is to be an eye of the hurricane. Hurricane meaning every person, children, parents, anybody living has so many responsibilities, so much stresses. There's a million things coming at us.
Sure. Your bills, your
everything.
daily, your
but
schools,
we're all in the
everything.
same boat. We're all in
Sure.
the same boat. You know, no matter, some have more, some have less stress, but everybody has all these responsibilities. My thing is, can you be the eye of the hurricane? Meaning, in every hurricane, there's a calmness. There's a calmness in the center. So a lot of people are into meditation. It's wonderful to relax, get in the moment, silence yourself and relax. A lot of people love that. I'm not that much into it. I'm more into mindfulness. Mindfulness is the ability to be that eye of the hurricane. When things are happening, things are stressful, that you are able to stay calm and relax. Who doesn't need that? Everybody needs that.
So it's not what happens to you, it's how you deal with it.
Yeah, and that's the way I taught the self-esteem class, and that's I would like to help parents and children realize that it's not the situation that's really the problem. That seems like it is, but it isn't. It's the way you're reacting to the problems, your ability to make good decisions.
And process the information.
And I think the way we do that is when we realize, again, that we're this ocean, not a drop. It's such a shift in perspective. It allows you to make better decisions because you raise your consciousness to a higher level. And when you do that, everything becomes like a GPS signal. You're guided in the right direction automatically. Everything that we need is within us. We just have to quiet ourselves and listen to our voice. And that's the whole key I'm trying to do with this book, this perspective, is to realize you have all that within you if you're able to quiet yourself. And I think mindfulness is really the key, the ability to be really present in what you're doing, no matter what it is, the dishes or going for a walk or doing your work. When you do that, you naturally are calm and relaxed. To be in a point where you're stressed out, you would have to have negative thinking. If you stop all thinking, there can be no stress. We could have a million problems, but when we're doing something and totally focused on it, you have no problems at all because your consciousness is caught up in what you're doing. That's why people are golfing or doing hobbies, because their consciousness is caught up in what they're doing fully, so they're not evolved in their mind. So it gets you out of your mind of all your story of what's going on, and for that moment allow you to just be in what you're doing 100%. And people cannot do that. If I talk to so many people, can you stop thinking for 30 seconds? They can't. And that's crazy, but we're so caught, our minds have taken over us, and we cannot settle down and enjoy the present, that's in front of us.
We have so much stimuli around us too.
It
so
is, but the ability and the way you control that when you have so much, especially when the stress gets higher, we need it more and more. we need the ability to slow down. And the way you slow down, take it from me, a person who spends so much time on it, when you're able to, whatever's happening, that you to get a laser focus. When you have a laser focus, you're able to focus on one thing at a time and block out everything else. We all need that. But laser is the ability to put everything together, a light, and focus it. The same thing with our consciousness. If we can put it into a central focus, we're able to be there and be able to enjoy it and block out everything else. That's why a lot of companies are using mindfulness to handle stress for their employees. It's become so popular. It's a catchword, mindfulness. I believe that fully, because it allows you to be in the moment, enjoy the present before you. So many people are going through life running around, but they're not getting satisfaction. They have a big house, they have all these things, celebrities, but they're not happy. Why? Because they're running around, they haven't found a peace. Peace comes from knowing who you are, not from anything outside yourself.
You mentioned that, and we were talking about an individual earlier, Tom Shadyac, who's a huge producer, director, and a celebrity in his own right. And really quick, he was building this huge house. I think it was like 15,000 square feet. Long story short, he had a major biking accident, and so he almost lost his life. Wow. So what he did after that is he found this issue of we're all connected, of humanity and what life is really worth. Sure. Rather than the financial aspect. He sold his huge house, lives in a mobile home. It's like 4,000 square feet, of course, but it is a mobile home. And so he decided that all those material things were not as important as why we were here on Earth, and the humanity of the consciousness of why we do what we do. He was working, he was producing Dumb and Dumber, he was producing all these different movies and making a lot of money, but was he really happy inside? So very few people can step back, unless they have this life-changing experience and say, wait a minute, what route am I taking? What's the most important thing for me? And in this day and age, too, you have kids, 14, 15, 16-year-old who don't have that self-worth, who don't think that they're worthy, who maybe are not as, focused, and don't have those tools. And you said you taught self-esteem. Sure. So what is your message to them? I mean, how do we tell them what they need to do, but how do they get to that concept of I can and I will and I am kind of thing to be successful?
Yeah,
what do we do?
Yeah, I'll answer that, but there's not only 14 and 15s that have a problem with self-worth. We have so many people.
Absolutely.
And self-worth is because we're reflecting on what we have. I need to get a job, I need to get this kind of clothes. It's an external focus. And to have the self-worth and have the guidance is the ability to realize, what's the most important thing I want in life. And media and the world's telling you need all these things, but for me, I think peace is the most powerful thing and the most important thing you could ever possess. Eckhart Tolle, a famous author, one of the top spiritual persons, says, if you do not have peace, you will always be a beggar. No matter what you have, the houses, the money, and we know that's true because a lot of people, it doesn't give you lasting happiness. Happiness is an external condition caused by what's happening in the world. Peace is an internal condition that nobody can take away. It's totally irrelevant. There could be a bum that's totally at peace and totally happy, and somebody that's a millionaire and has all these things, but they're not happy. Who is the richer person? Because it comes from knowing, once again, who you are. So how do we give this to our children? Mm-hmm. Again, it's the parents, okay? The value. What do you value? Do you value possessions, or do you value to be a good person, to see each others as equal, to honor everyone you meet? Those are values. It's something that we need to give them, for them to understand their own greatness, which is the most powerful thing. Every parent wants that. It's a good parent, wants their kids to have infinite value. I have a chapter coming out in a book called Essential Wisdom, and my chapter is 32 authors around the world writing on different spectrum. Mine was esteem, self-esteem. I call it universal esteem through a higher awareness. And this is where just knowing that you, even as youngsters, everyone, we're connected to a higher consciousness, that we're not separate. The fact that we're separate is causing our suffering. When we realize within that we're a spirit, not this body, you realize right away, if you can focus on that, you have infinite universal esteem that no one can take away. No matter what happens to you, you know your own greatness. And that's probably the greatest thing we can give any child or any person. I see people that are 60, 70 suffering, not realizing their own greatness. Why don't we realize our own greatness? How can that be that we're so tied up with all these things that we're chasing, but at the end of the day, we're not inspired to know our greatness, that we have to suffer and battle? It's a shame. The focus is in the wrong direction. That's why I'm so inspired to help people once again see you are the ocean. You have everything you need already. The problem is you don't know it. And if you don't know something, it's not your reality. And I can't convince you of that. But reading so many books of top spiritual people, they all say the same thing. There was a book I read, 25 people were interviewed about how they awakened. And if there were regular people, business people, spiritual leaders, religious people, a number, in fact, all different stories, this idea of oneness. We're all connected. It comes up over and over and over again. Back in Rumi, the Buddhists, all this stuff, I'm not preaching like a religion. It's an idea that helps you realize your greatness. The illusion of separateness falls away. And with just knowing that simple fact, you have everything, the most priceless possession you could ever possess is the knowledge of your own greatness, that we're all connected. I wouldn't trade that for the whole world. And that's why I have peace most of the time, because I live that way. I want to help other people realize that and live in that way as well.
You know, when you talk about inner peace, and I've always defined it as the conscience. If your conscience is clear, and I think you mentioned that, if you're good to your neighbor, if you're good to, your family, if you are a good person in general and never go out to really hurt someone,
sure,
that conscience is clear, so that creates that inner peace. But then how does money buy you happiness?
Well, the thing is, obviously we need money, but how much is enough? I think we get addicted to it. There's people that are millionaires, they're not satisfied. But how can that be? Because obviously that doesn't give you what you need. I think at the end of the day, all the things we're chasing, the end result, and people don't know it or just haven't figured out, is peace. Whatever we're doing, all our actions, end of the day is to find peace for ourselves, for others, but we don't realize that.
So how do you find peace if, hypothetically speaking, God forbid, you have a family member who has cancer, you have another family member who may be homeless and
sure,
mentally incompetent, you yourself are trying to manage your bills and trying to manage things
sure,
that are around you. How do you find that?
That's the ultimate question. So many people have been doing that. It's the ability, again, to realize who you are. In my current situation, I have a 80-year-old dad is chronically ill and pain all the time, suffering so much the last year and a half. It's so hard to watch. Okay, I have peace, but I have a situation where my own dad is suffering so much. What can I do about it? What I can do about it is do the best I can. I go over there, I try to comfort them, I be there, but there's only so much you can do. So I'm able to realize I'm there for him, but to realize that there's only so much I can do. That's part of the process. When we have difficult situations, our resistance causes a lot of problems. If you can just
worrying about what you can't, don't have control
basically,
over.
This is happening to me. Okay, we can't avoid stressful situation problems. It's just a fact of life. So if you have peace, that means you're not running away from the problems. In the midst of the storm or hurricane, you have that peace. Well, how can you do that? That's the question,
That's
right?
hard.
The question is, again, to realize who you are. The reason we suffer is because we don't know who we are. We're separate and we're not connected. Well, how can this connectedness make such a difference and affect me in everyday life? That's the question, right?
And unless you have that real depth, that doesn't really resonate with
Right. So the way I can help people realize in a specific, because my end of the day is for me to help people realize you have something you can use right away and make it simple. There's so many people that are preaching about endless steps. So you got to go through all these classes and do all these things to find something to make you deal with life and the problems. My thing is, through this awareness, you get a calmness because of knowing who you are and overall. Because when I see you, I see myself. When I see anybody, I see myself. So would you hurt that person? No, because the reason there's war and struggling because we're separate. This is me, this is you. No, but what if we see everyone as us? What a shift in perspective would make a huge difference. But let me circle back. So how can we make that a difference in everyday life? Because I need something, okay, that's great. It's out there, it's spiritual, but it ain't going to help me, right?
Right.
That's the name of it can't help you. The way it could help you is when you realize who you are and then you transferred it into feeling great about yourself, you react to life in a better way. You're able to keep your calmness. You're able to be more mindful as you go about your, because instead of worrying, you're dealing with your problems in the present moment and not having all these thoughts in your head about. And the stress is caused because we're saying all these things that are negative. Like, why is this happening to me? This shouldn't be happening to me. This is unfair. Nobody else has these problems. Because our inner voices cause us to know this.
My company's downsizing. I just got fired. My kids need braces. My mom is having health issues, so I have to address that. My husband is struggling at work. My youngest daughter just broke her leg. So how do I find that inner peace and not go,
well, see,
oh my Lord.
Okay, so
why is this happening to me?
Sure. So we have that range where all these things are happening. And then we have this other range where people have millions of dollars and everything going for them and they're still unhappy. So we have problems over on this side and then this side. Okay, so these things don't occur to you, so how are you going to handle it? Are you going to handle it?
How do you find that greatness inside of you?
Are you going to handle it in a negative way? Oh my God, what's going to happen to me? I can't do this. Obviously, having a positive attitude goes a long way, but how do you do that? Again, it all stems from our perspective. When you realize who you are, you're able to handle more because instead of saying to yourself, I'm no good, I'm terrible, I don't deserve this, I can do this. It's so much on my plate, but I believe in myself. I can handle this because I know I'm great inside, and every challenge is for me to overcome if I believe in myself and have proper thinking and stay in the moment and do the best that I can. These are all terrible things, but me having a terrible attitude is not going to make it better. It's going to make it worse. So my only choice is to be negative or positive. I want to keep choosing positive because that's what I was teaching the children for a class that I designed for grades 4 to 5. Okay, you have issues with your schooling, your parent, even at a young age, a lot of problems. Okay, what are you going to do about it? Your choice is always, I can't control the situation, but I can control 100% how I react. So I'm going to react in a situation positively. Guess what? After a while, no matter what the situation, I'm going to make good decisions. Well, those are habits when you have unemployment, when you have a problem. Guess what? You've learned to make the best of it and keep making good decisions because that's the only choice we have. We're going to be, this is a situation. I'm going to be negative or positive. That's it. That's our only choice. So what are you telling me? I'm going to be negative? You can't. The only choice is to be positive and have the best perspective because anything less is going to drag you down further.
Oh, absolutely. You do have a quote in here which I loved and I wrote down. It says the common perception seems to be that there is something always better that what is in front of us. This is an illusion that causes our lives to feel unfulfilled. So we're always looking for something different. Maybe, and as we talked about, grass is greener on the other side. So how do we create that reality for ourselves that this is, when you look at a homeless person, how does that individual say, okay, I'm great, I'm going to be positive, I'm going to change my life, without going through a certain process and a certain sort of reprogramming kind of process to be able to know that they are great and they are worth it, and they need to go a different route. So it takes a special person to realize that. So how do you get that consciousness to get to that place
but I wasn't
to be able to realize that?
But I wasn't a special person. I was really depressed and really at wit's end what to do. So I had to work on myself and what's going on and make that understanding. So that's the whole key. But going back to the quote real quick, it's a very powerful quote because this is the central problem why people suffer. No matter what you have in front of you, you want to go to somewhere else. See, when you go to something, you're devaluing the present moment. It's not the moment. This present moment is not a means to an end. It's the end itself. Meaning that this moment is all I have. This is what life's about. It isn't about getting home and then being able to sit down and relax or get to the play, the drive there. So every step's a process. So we keep wanting to fast forward to the next thing. So there is no next thing. You're always in the present moment. So that's where the power lies. But we're so caught up in our head, projecting, that we are missing life. We're missing it's called the present, right? This is life is a present. It's always in the moment. Even if it's negative, it's all we got. You do the best you can. But what we do, we keep running our own movies about our stories, our story of woe, all the things that are wrong. That takes away. Because your consciousness up here in the worries, guess what? Your consciousness is not down here enjoying drinking some water or going for a walk. If you block out the thinking, guess what happens? You're able to enjoy. If you watch a 5-year-old, they're playing, they're mindful. You know why? Because they're 100% in the moment. They're not thinking about, oh, what am I going to do tomorrow? Or what, I hate what happened yesterday with my friend. She shouldn't have done that to me. Because we are trained to get ourselves out of our natural state of mindfulness because we get trained about thinking and worrying. We need to go back to the natural essence. Absolutely. It's our natural essence is to be in the moment, enjoying life. Life is to be enjoyed, not just to get by. And the way you do that is you learn to anchor yourself in the present moment. You're washing dishes, wonderful. Be 100% in that. You're going for a walk. Don't think about all the things you got to do when you get home. Enjoy the step. Enjoy the flowers. Because we haven't been able to, because we've been programmed to always seek more. Right. You have everything you need in a moment. You need to relax and enjoy what's in front of you, and that's why it's a present.
Absolutely, and we'll end with this. I know when we go on road trips, my husband and I, and he'll say, "No, we've got to get there." And me, I'm always looking to see where we can stop and what we can see, and what
enjoy
other
the ride.
issues. Exactly, and it's about the ride rather than the goal.
And always,
to where
because
you know,
if you I'm going to get in 2 years, I want to get this promotion. Well, guess what? You better enjoy the 2 years till you get there, because when it happens, it's only a split second. What are you doing the rest of the 2 years?
Absolutely.
So people do that all the time. So I think it's very important to find your own greatness, know that you're the ocean, not the drop. That allows you to relax, be in the moment, and have a positive attitude so you can handle life. So one thing, a takeaway I always want to leave people is, when you go and do something, even for 30 seconds or a minute, do that 100%. Stop the thinking, stop thinking, and
focus.
Do it 100% for 1 minute, and you'll see there's no problems, no worries, and it's a huge part of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. The Peace Perspective by Markovski. Is there a website or somewhere they can go to learn more?
It's thepeaceperspective.com. Altogether, I got free book samples, wonderful reviews, all my different interviews, and
wonderful.
Check it out. I think it makes a huge difference, and you can contact me at m.markovski.net if you want more information about doing one-on-one coaching.
Absolutely. The Peace Perspective. We're all one. Enjoy the present. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.